John Armitage is a $2 million man. You see, Armitage is also Dan Andrews' chief political strategist. He's also a long-time political ally of Andrews, and he owns and operates Kudos Research. Armitage, through his company Kudos, has been awarded 2 contracts worth more than $2 million. And what's even more fascinating is the second contract that Kudos won was handed to Kudos by the DPC, and it was done so without ever going to tender. Now, Armitage, it seems, is a really lucky man. And it's not a bad get if you know, or if you're in with the right people, as Armitage obviously is. Lucky John Armitage, but is he really worth that much money? The Premier obviously thinks so, but very few others do. So much has never smelt right about the Andrews government, and it hasn't been for many years. It's a government that stinks. It's a government riddled with the appearance of corruption, self-interest, and an insatiable desire for power that's leaving Victorians ravaged economically and socially. No fair-minded Victorian, apart from party apparatchiks, wedded through blind loyalty, could ever believe Andrews and many of his ministers and politically appointed members of the public circus, and that's what it's become, is a circus, have acted solely in the interest of Victorians at large. COVID has proved that. Now, for the myriad of inconsistencies surrounding COVID, the pandemic has unwittingly exposed the Andrews government. There was once a time when senior public servants were integrous and would not allow themselves to be held hostage, not by political masters. Answering to ministers is one thing, but being compromised is not how senior public servants should behave. So, enter Sven Bluemmel, Victoria's Information Commissioner. Emerging from the thick fog of COVID is Bluemmel's very bright light. Bluemmel is hell-bent on shining his light in places Andrews won't want exposed. Just this week, he ordered Andrews' government to release documents detailing secret COVID-19 surveys of Victorians conducted by Armitage and his company Kudos. Bluemmel's emerging light through the thick fog of deceit has declared there's a particularly strong public interest in documents, including emails and attachments, between Kudos Research and the Department of the Premier and Cabinet being made public. You see, Bluemmel isn't satisfied the disclosure would be contrary to the public interest. He thinks it is in their interest. Well done, Sven. Good on you. Don't forget, Bluemmel was also found in a freedom of information victory for the Australian newspaper. Bluemmel is unlike many of the political appointees in senior positions indebted to Andrews for their cushy high-paid jobs and trimmings that come with it. Bluemmel believes there's a genuine public interest in disclosure regarding the expenditure of public funds and where they are going to and who they may be aligned with. Where funds are being spent by government on surveying attitudes on issues of significance to the community that may actually influence and impact upon government decision-making. The public interest is particularly strong. Well, it seems Andrews and his government have something to hide. They are now fighting again to keep the documents secret, where the Department of Premier and Cabinet have launched a taxpayer-funded appeal to overturn the ruling. Now, Bluemmel's decision follows hot on the heels of a titanic FOI battle between the Australian newspaper and the DPC, covering 64 Kudos documents the department had earlier refused to release to the newspaper or handed over with heavy redactions. The redacted documents revealed Kudos embarked on a large-scale program at the height of the 2020 pandemic to monitor Victorians' reactions to lockdown restrictions and to score the government's performance out of 10, including its leadership. Now, the emergence of the surveys by Kudos, which promotes its ability to stir and ignite public opinion and change public opinion, suggests, while the Premier may argue that restrictions were based solely on health advice, his government was clearly sensitive to the political fallout. Bluemmel doesn't consider the information is particularly sensitive. He considers the focus of the proposed areas for the survey into public opinion would and should be reasonably expected given the relevance of the survey issues at that point in time. Kudos quizzed Victorians to score the government from 0 to 10 on providing leadership during the coronavirus outbreak, and it rated its performance on acting on advice from health officials. They were asked whether they thought the restrictions had been much too soft, about right, too harsh, much too harsh, and whether you were more concerned about the coronavirus impact on health and society or its impact on jobs and the economy. Kudos's emails confirmed that the Premier's private office was heavily involved in framing the surveys, and on occasions, he was invited to view focus groups organised by the firm. Underlining the political nature of Kudos's taxpayer-funded work was an appearance by Armitage before the Crisis Cabinet, which he delivered a briefing about public perceptions of the Premier's performance. Now, all Andrews has ever cared about is the public perception and power. But now it seems the public perception had diminished and the non-stick coating is rapidly eroding, thanks to a public servant named Sven Bluemmel.